What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Twitter Files. So we have another release from Matt Taibbi. I will list his name down below in the description if you'd like to give him a follow on Twitter, and let's get right into it. Twitter Files number 14, The Russiagate Lies. 1. The fake tale of Russian bots and the Release the Memo hashtag. At a crucial moment in a years-long furor, Democrats denounced a report about flaws in the Trump-Russia investigation, saying it was boosted by Russian bots and trolls. Twitter officials were aghast, finding no evidence of Russian influence. Quote, "We are feeding congressional trolls, not any significant activity connected to Russia. Putting the cart before the horse, assuming this is propaganda/bots." Twitter warned politicians and media they not only lacked evidence, but had evidence the accounts weren't Russian and were roundly ignored. On January 18, 2018, Republican Devin Nunes submitted a classified memo to the House Intel Committee detailing abuses by the FBI in obtaining FISA surveillance authority against Trump-connected figures, including the crucial role played by the infamous Steele dossier. The Nunes assertions would virtually all be verified in a report by Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz in December 2019. Nonetheless, national media in January and early February of 2018 denounced the Nunes report in oddly identical language, calling it a joke. On January 23, 2018, Senator Dianne Feinstein and Congressman Adam Schiff published an open letter saying the hashtag gained the immediate attention and assistance of social media accounts linked to Russian influence operations. Feinstein and Schiff said the Nunes memo distorts classified information, but note they didn't call it incorrect. Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal followed suit, publishing a letter saying, "We find it reprehensible that Russian agents have so eagerly manipulated innocent Americans." Feinstein, Schiff, Blumenthal, and the media members all pointed to the same source: the Hamilton 68 dashboard created by former FBI counterintelligence official Clint Watts, under the auspices of the Alliance for Securing Democracy. The dashboard, which featured a crude picture of Vladimir Putin deviously blowing evil red Twitter birds into the atmosphere, was vague in how it reached its conclusions. Inside, Twitter executives panned Watts, Hamilton 68, and the Alliance for Securing Democracy. Two key complaints: Hamilton 68 seemed to be everyone's only source, and no one was checking with Twitter. Quote, "I encourage you to be skeptical of Hamilton 68's take on this, which, as far as I can tell, is the only source for these stories," said Global Policy Communications Chief and future White House and NSC spokesperson Emily Horn. She added, "It's a comms play for ASD." "All the swirl is based on Hamilton," said Trust and Safety Chief Yoel Roth. "If ASD isn't going to fact-check with us, we should feel free to correct the record on their work," said Policy VP Carlos Monge. Roth couldn't find any Russian connection to hashtag release the memo at all. "I just reviewed the accounts that posted the first 50 tweets with hashtag release the memo, and none of them show any signs of affiliation to Russia. We investigated, found the engagement as overwhelmingly organic and driven by VITs, very important tweeters, including WikiLeaks and Congressman Steve King." A staffer for DeFi, Feinstein agreed it would be helpful to know Hamilton 68 goes by the process which they decide an account is Russian. but only after Feinstein published her letter about Russian influence. When Twitter spoke to a Blumenthal staffer, they tried to wave him off because, quote, "we don't believe these are bots." Added another, "It might be worth nudging Blumenthal's staffer that it could be in his boss's best interest not to go out there because it could come back to make him look silly." One Twitter exec even tried to negotiate, implying an undisclosed future PR concession if Blumenthal would lay off on this. It seems like there are other wins we could offer him. Blumenthal published his letter anyway. Execs eventually grew frustrated over what they saw as a circular process, presented with claims of Russian activity, even when denied, led to more claims. They expressed this explicitly to Blumenthal's camp, saying, quote, "Twitter spent a lot of resources on this request, and the reward from Blumenthal shouldn't be round after round of requests. We can't do a user notice each time this happens." Eventually, Twitter staff realized Blumenthal isn't looking for real and nuanced solutions, but, quote, "just wants to get credit for pushing us further." Ultimately, senior executives talked about feeding congressional trolls and compared their situation to the children's book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. In the story, if you give a mouse a cookie, he'll want a glass of milk, which will lead to a wave of other exhausting requests, at the end of which he'll want a glass of milk and one more cookie. The metaphor for the endless Russia requests was so perfect, one exec wrote, "I'm legit embarrassed. I didn't think of that first." Despite universal internal conviction that there were no Russians in this story, Twitter went on to follow a slavish pattern of not challenging Russia claims on the record. Outside counsel from D.C. connected firms like DeBoise and Plimpton advised Twitter to use language like, quote, "with respect to particular hashtags, we take seriously any activity that may represent an abuse of our platform." As a result, reporters from the AP to Politico to NBC to Rolling Stone continued to hammer the Russian bots theme, despite a total lack of evidence. Russians weren't just blamed for hashtag release the memo, but also hashtag Schumer shutdown, hashtag Parkland shooting, even hashtag gun control now, to, quote, "widen the divide," according to the New York Times. Hashtag Schumer shutdown and hashtag release the memo, the internal guidance was, both hashtags appear to be organically trending. NBC, Politico, AP, Times, Business Insider, and the other media outlets who played up the Russian bots story, even Rolling Stone, all declined to comment for this story. The staffs of Feinstein, Schiff, and Blumenthal also declined to comment. Who did comment? Devin Nunes. Quote, "Schiff and the Democrats falsely claimed Russians were behind the release the memo hashtag. All my investigative work. By spreading the Russia conclusion hoax, they instigated one of the greatest outbreaks of mass delusion in U.S. history." This hashtag release the memo episode is just one of many in the Twitter files. The Russiagate scandal was built on the craven dishonesty of politicians and reporters who for years ignored the absence of data to fictional scare headlines. And then he says, for more, watch Schellenberger MD, Barry Weiss, L.H. Fang, David Zweig, Alex Berenson, and more. You can read more on the TaibbiSubstack.com for more on why America needs truth and reconciliation on Russiagate. Furthermore, he says Twitter had no editorial input on this story. Searches were carried out by third parties, so the documents could be limited. So there you have it. What do you think of Twitter Files number 14? Basically you have Schiff and the Democrats trying to push Twitter again and pressure them into finding this collusion with Russia, particularly in this case, on these hashtags. They wanted to stop these hashtags from getting further views, and falsely related them to Russian interference when Twitter came back and said, no, these hashtags are just organically grown, from some major accounts posting them, and they found no ties to Russian influence. Furthermore, which I think might be even worse, is that the mainstream media news outlets parroted the narrative that Schiff and the Democrats were saying, and they continued to push this Russian influence thing on the news. I can say, I don't know about you guys, but personally for me, I actually fell for it. I thought there was Russian influence. At the time, I was a hardcore Democrat. I've been a Democrat my whole life. And I was watching the Rachel Maddow show. I was listening to everything they were saying. And I fully believed that this all was true. And come to find out, it's just a narrative that they wanted put out there. And they, even when there was nothing there, they continued to push it. And the media outlets followed suit and continued to push this Russian influence thing. At the time, I fully believed this was the truth, but really I was just being fed a story. But I can say things are looking up now that we have at least one social media platform that isn't being censored for telling the truth. And I think it's more important to know the truth than to just search out information that confirms your own biases. So now I know the truth and you guys know the truth, and we're going to get more truth coming soon. So stay tuned here on the Twitter Files. Thank you all guys for subscribing and liking, and on to the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.